Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be a quick little do-it-yourself Dollar Tree fall home decor, kind of on the, rustic farmhouse style. And this is 1000% inspired by Crestina. She is Lemon Avenue Life here on YouTube, and she's on Instagram as well. And she always does all these like amazing Dollar Tree like decor that you wouldn't even think came from Dollar Tree. So I was totally inspired, like, girl, get to Dollar Tree and make some cute decor yourself. I'm going to be using these little pumpkins right here. I already ripped off the little raffia little bow right here, and then the jute twine that was in there, as you can see. You could save this and use it later, or you could use your own if you have any on hand. And then I got these little blocks because of the way that I'm going to adhere the pumpkins to the candlestick holders. These are in the glass candlestick area. And they also have a super jelly like glue like this in the crafts section. It is very similar to the Beacon Fabri-Tac. So if they have that there, you guys go ahead and grab it. I knew I already had glue on hand, so I didn't buy any. I didn't want to waste any money. So you'll need a strong glue to glue your glass together. And then they have these little drawers, but they do have those little blocks that are just like this. I would get those instead because they're more sturdy and it's a little bit smaller than these, but my store did not have any. Of course, I should have grabbed them when I saw them originally, but that wasn't the case. So these will work as well. For this project, you can easily leave this wood color right here, and you can also just paint it white with white acrylic paint, or you can stain it if you have stain on hand, because they do not sell stain at the Dollar Tree, but they do sell acrylic paint at the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to stain these two pieces really quick. So I'm just outside painting with my Dollar Tree paintbrush and the finish that I had at home called Special Walnut. I've stained stuff in the past, so I'm surprised it wasn't dried out. But basically, I am just doing the inner pieces of the pumpkin because I will be layering paper up on top of those raised panels with cardstock or paper, I don't know what yet, but just like Crestina did on her pumpkins. So right here, I'm just wiping the excess off because I want this to dry fast and I'm impatient. And I didn't even take the glue off the top part of the stem where the bow was because I know I'm going to be covering that. So they're both done, but if you want to, you can, instead of staining, you can paint this with white and then we can distress it with a brown paint or ink if you have ink, if you're a stamper. So the options are endless and you could have left it that natural color as well. So while that's drying, get two of these glass candle holders and just get your clear glue that you have, the super strong one. Fabri-Tac does say that you can use it on glass, but it does take 24 hours to cure. So leave that there. So they do sell white acrylic paint at Dollar Tree, but I already had some on hand. So I'm just getting one of the Dollar Tree paintbrushes and I'm just sloppy painting this white stuff on. I am going to do 2 coats once this dries, and it sometimes scratches off the white paint off of the glass, but that's okay. It kind of gives it like that distressed look. So I'm just going through and painting all of this really quick. If you do have a white chalk paint, I'm sure that would work way better than the acrylic paint because the chalk paint you can layer it and it's not going to scratch it up and show missing parts, but the white acrylic paint will work, and this is what I used in this tutorial, and that's what I'm going with. So here I am painting the box white. I did just go ahead and turn that heart drawer backwards. I took it out and then put the heart in the back of the box so that you can't see the cutout. So while that's drying, I have my 2 pumpkins. They're dry, they're not stinky. As you can see, some of the stain did not catch because I'm sure it's just a treated wood or glue or was oozing, but it doesn't really matter. It kind of adds to the rustic look of the pumpkins. So Crestina was working with one-dimensional pumpkins, and she did add some burlap to the top and paper on this. You could easily turn this around and work with one-dimensional, but I do like the raised part of these pumpkins. I'm going to use the same technique she did with just pattern paper. I'm using these 3 patterns right here. And basically, since this part is raised, you can't really just flip it over and trace it. It doesn't work that way. So for this, literally, it's going to be like back in kindergarten. You're going to get your paper
and you're going to stick it on the one piece and get a bone folder, a big giant popsicle stick, whatever you have laying around. And I'm literally just pressing down as if I had trace contact paper, and it is going to leave an indent on the paper, and you'll see it much better once I flip this paper around. So I'm just going around the edge of that semicircle on the left hand side, because I'm going to use this pattern paper on the left hand side. So I'm kind of just feeling with my finger like where I need to rub with the stick. So once I flipped it over, you can see much better where you need to cut. So I just get my scissors and cut the shape roughly around the edges. So here's my little half circle, semicircle, and it's not perfect, but I mean, you can barely tell, and it's a little bit longer on one of the points. I made it too pointy, so I'm just snipping that off real quick. So for the opposite side of the pumpkin, that little end panel right there, you can't literally just flip that piece over. You would have to mirror image it. So you have to turn it, you know, wrong side up, and then it would fit the shape. So you have to trace. So I just did that. I just literally held that moon shape on here. But I'm going to do duplicates of each pattern because I do have 2 pumpkins. So I need to cut a shape just like how I cut the other one, which I'm doing right now. And then I'm going to flip the moon around and do the other 2 sides. So I did the same technique with the center circle piece with the bone folder creasing the paper. I have my designs, my 3 designs right here. They're going to go on this pumpkin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those Dollar Tree sponges that I did in my other tutorial. And I'm going to use some Mod Podge that they sell at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to paint it on basically and then put the cardstock on top of that. So here I'm just going over the edge of the paper a little bit to seal it in. Not that that really matters, but just what was left on the paintbrush. So my camera cut out, but basically they have burlap similar to this, like in a ribbon style at Dollar Tree. I already had some on hand, so I didn't buy any. I put some hot glue exactly where the stem was, the shape of the stem, and I glued it on there already. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to use the fine tip scissors from Dollar Tree. They're like, you know, getting the nitty gritty in the corners, and I'm going to shape around the burlap. I found it was easier to do this than try to cut the burlap in the shape that I needed. It just turned out to be a hot mess. So I'm just going around the shape of the pumpkin, as you can see right here, and then flip it over and just cut across the edge, like, you know, kind of where the end of a pumpkin stalk would stop at. Okay, there's my 2 pumpkins with the cute little burlap stalks, just like Crestina did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of jute string. I know they have some of this at Dollar Tree, but I already had some on hand, so I didn't buy any more. So I'm basically just going to cut little pieces and make little bows and glue them on. So I'm tying the bow first because I found that was easier than trying to wrap it around that flat stem. So basically I'm just going to do a little bead of hot glue at the bottom and then glue the bow onto that. So there's the cute little jute bow right there, but I am going to add some more ribbon, but I need to add the bow to the other one right now. So I have my cute little bows, and I'm going to add another bow using this Dollar Tree lace ribbon. I'm just gonna tie a little bow around the actual stalk this time. I should have cut a longer piece, but oh well, I'm gonna make this work. Just making the little loops smaller so that my string parts are a little bit longer. And it is looking cute with the 2 bows layered up. You could use scraps just like Crestina did. So I got both my pumpkins now. As you can see, these ones have a little bit longer tail, which looks cuter, but oh well. Okay, so here is my box and my candle holder. I just glued the 2 together again with my Fabri-Tac. And see how the white glass kind of has some like scratches on it because I scratched the white paint off during my second coat. So it kind of gives that distressed look though. So anyway, I am going to use my sponge brushes from Dollar Tree and some brown ink that I have in my crafty stash, and I'm just gently going along the edges and putting it a little bit on. And then once I did that and it was really dry, I kind of went across the face of each of the block. So here I am again, like just adding a little bit more. You can go more dramatic, you can do less dramatic, and I'm kind of just, you know, playing along. And then you can do this literally, you're going to rotate this and do it to all 4 sides. So whichever side that you like, you can pick to be the front. You can also use this technique like the dry brush technique with some brown paint. You can even probably use some stain and do this the same exact way. So now I'm going through and painting the glass. See all the creases? I'm just going to accent those with the darkness and give it some depth and dimension. I'm literally just kind of like going along the very edge of it to give it a little bit of oomph on every single one of these little knobs and crevices on here. So it is looking good and distressed. I love the way that this turned out. I'm super excited. And you could easily just leave it like this, add some letters and spell the word boo. You don't even have to add a pumpkin. But anyway, I'm going to use these tiny little wood blocks again from Dollar Tree in the craft section. And I'm going to make a little basically an L-shaped bracket. What you do is you just use your hot glue gun and you're going to glue 2 of them together. That is going to be the long piece. And then you need to glue 1 to the left of it again to make an L-shaped little bracket. So here's what it'll look like once it's dry and put together again like a little Tetris piece. It is going to go on the very back center of your pumpkin, and this is going to help the pumpkin balance and stay on the little candelabra thing that I've built. So it's glued on now like that, like a little step, and it's going to go exactly on top of your square base, and you can push your pumpkin closer to the front or in the middle. I am going to kind of do it in the middle because I am going to add some moss to this. So I am using some Dollar Tree moss. This is the brown version. I'm just going to use some hot glue and glue the base of the pumpkin and then also the base of the wood block and just start clumping on that moss on there to give it a little bit of texture. Again, I want this to be all cohesive with the other piece that I made the other day in my DIY tutorial. So as you can see, I'm just going to shake some of it off. And now I'm just going to add some more to the base, like right where the base of the pumpkin starts curving. I'm going to add a little bit more just for a little bit more oomph. And I'm going to add my word. These little metal words are from Dollar Tree. They come in a 3-pack. I already used one of them for my other DIY. This one says harvest and this one says welcome. And my thankful one I already used on this project, which I do have a tutorial I will link down below. So I'm going to use the harvest one because, you know, these are pumpkins and I feel like harvest and pumpkin go together better. So before I glue this on, you can easily just glue it straight on with your glue stick, but I'm going to be a little bit extra. So what you do is you get your hot glue gun and you do a little tiny circle, like a dollop, like you're making little candy drops, and I'm going to do it on the bigger, wider part of the metal pieces. Again, your metal piece should be backwards because you're gluing the bottom of it underneath. And you basically just make these little nodules on here, and this is going to give it dimension off of your project. I love doing this with paper when I'm working with my paper crafting without having to use foam or other little pieces to give it that dimension. So here's what it looks like up close when they are dry. Basically little dewdrops that give it a little bit of dimension. Now I'm going to go back over this with my hot glue gun again on top of those exact dots, just so that they're wet now. I'm not going to go over a single one because the glue will dry faster than that. So I'm kind of doing the end, the middle, a couple of the middle pieces, and again on the end. And then hurry up and turn it around and put it center middle of your pumpkin, like so. So there you go, the little harvest in the center. See the dimension? You can barely tell, but in person there's a huge difference. It's on there, it's raised. Here's your little ribbon hanging down. I'm going to tuck it behind the letters because it was driving me nuts that it was covering the R, so I just kind of tucked it beneath. So there it is, a little harvest pumpkin. This is the single tier one. I am going to do the exact same thing to the other one.
Okay, just real quick, you guys. Another option for this to give it a little more oomph, like I said, you can put letters right here and kind of spell out some words, but you can also use, they have the thicker twine, and you can easily just wrap the spine of this as another option to add detail to your project, like so. And then also something else that looked cute was to make the raffia bow, or the raffia bow that came with the actual project. You can glue it right here in the center of the block, but or wrap it around the block. So those are just some other ideas. Another thing is, what I noticed is when I glued on my little leg part, you could probably get any shape like this from Dollar Tree and just add those little legs, again using the little wood craft cubes. And now look, I have a standing piece. So this did not stand on its own. It had a little hanging element. You just see the hole right there. You would hang it, but if you don't want to hang it and you want it to be on your shelf and layer them up, look at, literally you just made a tiny little stand. You could easily add 2 on the second hump, like do 1 here and 1 here to make it a little bit more sturdy. But I mean, it stands on its own with just the 1. So that's another option. And then here's what it looks like. I have to do 1 more coat of white paint, but I had glued the 2 pieces together and then put my little wood box on here. It literally fits by the hair of its chinny chin chin on each of the sides when you line it up. I'm actually going to add some trim that I have in my stash. This is actually from Hobby Lobby. It's $1.99, but when it's 50% off, it was $1. So it's a dollar store price, but dollar store definitely does not have ribbon this cute. So I'm just going to get it. You can't really tie a bow with this stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to layer it up, and I'm going to tuck it under the burlap. Literally just tuck it up and under so it has a little bit more fun trim at the top. And this will be the second pumpkin. I'm just gonna push it in there with my scissors. Now this pumpkin's a little bit different than the other one, and this one will stand taller than the other one, so it's gonna look a little bit, let me try to show you, like this. And then I'm gonna kind of layer them like this. So you guys will see a finished picture, I'm sure, once I share all of the do-it-yourself Dollar Tree decor that I end up making. All right, bye guys, catch you on the next video.